On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the bantamweight main event headlining UFC Iowa between Cory Sandhagen and Deiveson Figueiredo, May 3rd at the Wells Fargo Arena. My name is James Lynch. If you've never watched the show before, I'm going to go through both fighters, and then I'm going to give you my prediction at the end of this fight. We're going to go through a bunch of different stats and intangibles. In the comments, let me know your prediction on this fight. Would love to hear from you, and we can have a discussion about this matchup. As we always do on this program, let's do a quick tail of the tape between these two. Big fight in the 135-pound division. We got Cory Sandhagen, who's 17-5, Deiveson Figueiredo, 24-4-1, 33 years old for Cory, 37 for Deiveson, 5'11 to 5'5, 70 to 68. So Cory Sandhagen going to be younger and a little bit bigger in this spot. Let's have a look at the Sandman, Cory Sandhagen, as we're kind of taking a deeper dive into this one. By the way, I have interviewed Cory ahead of this fight. You can find that on my UFC interviews playlist if you're watching this. So I mentioned it there. Sandhagen's 32 years old, but I didn't mention that he will be, he's 32 years old. He will be 33 by the time this fight happens, because you can see his birthday there's April 20th. He is 17-5. He's got 7 knockouts, 3 submissions, and 7 decisions. He's currently ranked number 4 in the bantamweight division. He's 4 years younger. He'll have a 6-inch height and 2-inch reach advantage in this fight. Remember, Sandhagen used to fight at featherweight. Deiveson's fought as low as flyweight, so this could be an interesting one from a size perspective, something to keep in mind when looking at this fight. He trains at a Forge Fight Club. He's a BJJ brown belt. He's got fight of the night 2 times against Yuri Alcantara and Piotr Jan. He's got performance of the night 2 times against Marlon Moraes and Frankie Edgar. Made his amateur debut way back in September of 2012. Made his promotional debut, pro debut, I should say, in May of 2015. So he only started MMA a decade ago, which is kind of interesting. Made his UFC debut in January of, got that wrong. He made his UFC debut in January of 2018. I was close. I had the right month, just 2018, against Austin Arnett. That was at featherweight. Had his first couple fights at featherweight before dropping down in 2019 to 2018 in bantamweight. Yeah, there we go. He only just had the one fight at featherweight. If you look on the regional scene, mainly fought at featherweight, which is interesting. So yeah, he has gone, made his UFC debut in January 2018. He's 9-4. He has 6 finishes. Some notable wins for Cory Sandhagen include, at the time, John Lineker. That was a very big win for him there. Rafael Santos has been ranked before, got a win over him. Marlon Moraes, former title challenger. Frankie Edgar, former champion. Song Yadong, Marlon Chito Vera, and Rob Font. His notable losses include Aljamain Sterling, first fighter to finish him, TJ Dillashaw, Piotr Jan, and his last fight against Umar Nurmagomedov. He's fought 14 times at bantamweight. This will be his 15th fight against Deiveson Figueiredo. He's fought 8 times at featherweight. Prior to that, he hasn't had any major injuries or missed time. He's had a couple layoffs, though. We'll talk about those. So going from Song Yadong, where are we here? Song Yadong to Marlon Chito Vera, there was going from Piotr Jan to Song Yadong, there was a 322-day layoff. Going from Rob Font to Umar Nurmagomedov, there was a 364-day layoff. So that was the longest of his career going into that Umar fight. And then going from Umar to Deiveson, just a 273-day layoff. So not a big one there, but still decent layoff going into this one. He's had 2 close fights in his career. Let's talk about the Lineker one. So that was a split decision. He ended up winning. If you look at the media scorecards for that one, a lot of people actually felt that Lineker won that one. 10 media members scored the fight for Lineker, just 7 for Sandhagen. But if you look at the TJ Dillashaw fight, that was a split decision that he lost. 6 media members scored the fight for Dillashaw. 17 scored it for Cory Sandhagen. So that's one that probably should have gone his way. Let's look at Cory's stats in the UFC. Let me zoom in a little bit. That's a little small on the font there. You can see his significant strikes landed per minute is 5.02. His significant striking accuracy is at 44%. Strikes landed per minute, 3.46. His striking defense is at 56. He doesn't get hit that much. Takedown average, 1.19. Takedown accuracy, only 32%. His takedown defense is 63%. His sub average is 0.3. So that is everything you need to know about Cory Sandhagen going into this big main event as he takes on the former flyweight champion, Deiveson Figueiredo. Let's talk about him. So you can see there, 24-4-1 record. He's got 9 knockouts, 9 submissions, and 6 decisions. He's currently ranked number 5 in the bantamweight division. He is 37 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach, so he's not going to have any advantages in this fight. Trains at a shootbox. Diego Lima is a BJJ black belt, and he's a former UFC flyweight champion, like I mentioned there. Never had an amateur debut, went straight to the pros way back in February of 2012. Made his UFC debut against Marco Beltrain. Don't remember that guy. In June of 2017. He's 13-4-1 in the UFC. He's got 8 finishes, some notable wins include Alexander Pantoja, the current flyweight champion right now. 2 wins over Joseph Benavidez. He beat Brandon Moreno, Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, and Chito Vera. His notable losses include 2 losses to Brandon Moreno and Piotr Jan. He's fought 24 times at flyweight. He's had 1 catchweight fight. He's fought 4 times at bantamweight. This will only be his 5th fight at bantamweight against Cory Sandhagen. He'll have a decent, he's only had 1 layoff in his career, and that was the 3rd Moreno fight to the 4th Moreno fight. There was a 366-day layoff fight. So that was this fight here going from January 2022 to January of 2023. That's the longest layoff he's had. He last fought in November. Not too much of a layoff there. Let's look at some fights that he's been in, close fights that he's been in. Because we always talk about close decisions. So the Jared Brooks fight, you know Jared Brooks from one championship. People forget he was in the UFC. He wins a split decision in that one. If you go look at the media scorecards for that one, that took place at UFC Fight Night 119, Brunson Machida back in October of 2017. 6 media members scored the fight for Figgy. 10 media members scored the fight for Jared Brooks. So that's a fight that probably shouldn't have gone his way. Now, there was the draw with Brandon Moreno. If you look at the media scorecard for that one, 14 media members scored it a draw. 13 media members scored the fight for Figueiredo. So again, that one could have maybe gone his way as opposed to a draw. And then there was the fight at UFC 270 back in January of 2022. The one that he gets the win over Brandon Moreno. This one I remember thinking could have gone either way, but yeah, that's a fight where, again, the media did think that he did win that fight, but it was much closer than for comfort there. Let's look at his stats. So we're looking at Figueiredo's stats here. So you see a little bit lower than Sandhagen, 2.91 significant strikes landed per minute, striking accuracy is at 54%. His striking defense is at 49%, so he gets hit a lot more than Sandhagen. Sandhagen's is at 56, his is at 49. His takedown average is 1.62. His takedown defense is at 60%. We'll see how this fight ends up. Could end up on the feet on this one. Now let's look at his overall stats here. Just 1 second. Going to pull this up. So if you look at his, we're going to look at the odds first. So the odds have Cory Sandhagen as a big favorite here. Actually, I'm a little bit surprised it's this high. I mean, I understand it, but also a little bit high for a fighter in Deiveson Figueiredo. It's tough to finish. So Cory Sandhagen, you see on most books here about -410, plus 300 here for Deiveson Figueiredo. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the age. And then on Tapology, a little bit closer on the odds, but still very much in favor of Cory Sandhagen. You'll see 73% of picking Sandhagen, mainly by decision. 93.4% are picking him by decision. And then Figueiredo, you got 27% picking him to win, 64% of them picking him by decision. Okay, which way am I going in this one? Well, the odds kind of gave it away here, but I'm going to be going with Cory Sandhagen. Now, a couple of reasons why I like Cory. First and foremost, he's a lot younger in this fight. Cory's in the prime of his career right now. There could be an argument that Deiveson Figueiredo's on a bit of a decline. Deiveson's coming off that loss to Piotr Jan. You know, he had some good success at bantamweight, but I think the Jan fight really showed that maybe he's not a contender in this weight class. With Sandhagen, I feel like he's right there. Yes, he lost to Umar in his last fight, and Umar looked outstanding, but I think if you had to, cap this, if I had to do the rankings on this, I would go Merab number 1 because he's the champ. I go Umar number 2. I'd put Sandhagen, then I'd put O'Malley and maybe Deiveson after that. Again, I've been very vocal about I'm not a big fan of the Merab and Sean O'Malley rematch. I think Cory Sandhagen is a much more deserving opponent for O'Malley than O'Malley getting the title fight, but that's a story for a different day. But either way, so there's that. I would also argue that Sandhagen has fought better opposition. Now, obviously, Deiveson fought the who's who at flyweight, but Cory's been a mainstay bantamweight in this division for a while. Look at some of the names that Cory's fought. He's been in there with Umar. Again, lost that fight, but still good showing, I thought. Rob Font, Chito Vera, Song Yadong, Piotr Jan, TJ Dillashaw, Frankie Edgar, Marlon Moraes, Aljamain Sterling. Like way more opposition, tough opposition than Deiveson Figueiredo's fought. In fact, I'd say the only really solid opponent he's fought was Piotr Jan. I think Chito Vera, the verdict out now, yeah, he's a ranked guy, but not really a contender. Garbrandt is not ranked. And Rob Font, yeah, I guess Rob Font will give him that win. That was good. That was a couple years back, but still a very good win there. I think also, like I said, I think Figgy's going to be a little bit too small here. And just, he's got knockout power, but I don't think that's really translated at 135, right? Like, the only win he's got by stoppage at bantamweight was a submission win over Cody Garbrandt. I don't think he's going to submit Cory Sandhagen. Sandhagen's too big, too fast, too active. And I think you got to know, just looking at past performances, when Sandhagen loses a fight, he tends to come back a lot stronger. We saw that after Sterling. He looked like a totally different fighter. I'm going to kind of bank on that in this spot. And yeah, like I said, I just think, the age, height, reach, all that certainly favors Sandhagen. Now, as far as an actual prediction, I think Sandhagen's going to win a decision. You look at it there, 7 knockouts for Cory Sandhagen, 7 by decision. But you look at some of the higher opposition he's fighting, he's mainly going the distance here. And even that Song Yadong fight that ended in a cut, he typically does go the distance. Who did he beat by finish? Guys that were older, like Marlon Moraes, Frankie Edgar. Maybe it happens here. Maybe he throws a flying knee and we'll see what happens. But I think it's more likely that Sandhagen wins the decision. The other thing you got to remember with Deiveson, He's only been finished twice in his career, 1 submission, 1 knockout. Don't think that happens here. Sandhagen doesn't really have the power to finish a Deiveson Figueiredo, in my opinion. So I'm leaning more Cory Sandhagen decision here. And again, I think most people are going this way, but yeah, I'm going Cory Sandhagen to take it, and then we'll see what happens next. I think, you might need another fight after this, but we'll see what happens in the division. It's all waiting to see what happens with Muradovashvili and Sean O'Malley. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below as far as your prediction. Where are you going on this one? Who are you leaning with? How do you think this fight goes down? Let me know. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. And if there's any other fights that are coming up, let me know. I can definitely preview them here on Early Look. I mainly go with the main events or title fights or, obviously like big fights that are coming up. But if there's some I'm maybe not thinking of, let me know in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Appreciate you watching. Let's talk about this fight in the comments. Give me your prediction, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching.